Hello, this is Jim Pellegrino. Welcome back to the second segment of the hour, and our guests are Deborah Ullman, who is the CEO of the YWCA for the Hartford region. Deborah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim.
And also Ron Cretaro, who is the Executive Director of Connecticut Nonprofits.
Glad to join you, Jim.
Ron, you and I know each other from somewhere. We've both been around a long time. It's unfortunate that I can't remember where it was.
And I'm only 29, so I'm glad.
Listen, first, for the audience concerning Deborah. Deborah is the CEO of the YWCA Hartford region and has been for 6 years. She's also a board member of Connecticut Nonprofits, has been involved with the YWCA nationally as well. And prior, actually, to her life in nonprofits, was involved with the financial services industries for a while.
Don't tell them how long.
And also spent an appreciable number of years with Aetna. Is that correct? Okay. And as far as Ron is concerned, as I said before, Executive Director of Connecticut Nonprofits for 31 years. And also, in parallel with that, does much Hartford area advocacy work, and also, in reading Ron's bio, a lot of local and state government work as well. So once again, welcome to both of you to the show. Ron, you first. Your membership, if I recollect, is something like 500 members, right? So you must be the largest nonprofit organization in the state of Connecticut.
We are the largest dedicated solely to nonprofit.
So give us a brief overview of Connecticut Nonprofits.
Connecticut Nonprofits tries to help Connecticut's nonprofits help Connecticut. We're involved in many facets with our members who are involved in all aspects of Connecticut life, and we try to help them save money to better advocate for themselves, to better fundraise, to do the kinds of things they need to succeed as businesses, because they are also businesses. And so that's what we're there. We're there to help them and support them in whatever ways we can.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that a little bit with you and Deb as well, because Deb, for you in particular, you've come from the private sector into the nonprofit sector. And we both know, Deb, sometimes what the private sector thinks of the nonprofits, and we also know what the nonprofits think of the private sector, and the public sector is in there somewhere too. So, Ron, we've got a tough economy out there.
We do.
I mean, it's a brutal economy. And for you and Deb, I mean, I know that the genesis of your revenue in part is a lot of fundraising, contributions, grants, etc. What's it like out there nowadays?
Well, it's difficult. It is a difficult time, and nonprofits are under a lot of stress because in many cases the demands on their services are much greater than they were before. They're seeing people who used to contribute to them and volunteer with them are now coming to them for services. Yes, for help. So you know, nonprofits are resilient. You know, they're businesses. We've got creative people leading them, and but in many instances they're struggling as well. But you know, we're keeping the doors open, the lights on, and there to serve our communities, and nonprofits.
That's an interesting dynamic listening to you talk, that some of the people who used to be donors before are coming to you now for help because of what the economy has done for them.
A lot of middle-class families that and individuals who had a job, and then, you know, Connecticut's lost 100,000 jobs. You know.
Yeah. Now, Deb, for you, whether it's nonprofit in general or the YWCA specifically, in addition to it being a tough economy, it's also the holiday season. And I don't know whether that exacerbates it or what, but what's it like at a nonprofit during the holiday season?
Well, it depends. For example, we have a homeless shelter and some supportive housing at our facility on Broad Street. And right now we're just trying to raise an extra $1,500 so, you know, every person there can get a $25 gift certificate to Walmart so they can buy themselves or one of their family a gift. We run a lot of child care, and so we're, you know, working with Toys for Tots and those kind of organizations to make sure that there's something under the tree for the children to open.
Must be a tough situation this time of year and given the economy.
Well, many nonprofits rely on the holiday giving and volunteering to help them
that
through.
That spirit of giving and volunteering.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and so okay, we've established that it's tough. But Ron and Deb, what did nonprofits do? I mean, coming from the private sector as I do, but having some public service as well. I mean, in the private sector, when your revenue was down, aka sales in the private sector, for you it's fundraising and contributions, usually you have to take some actions to counteract what's happening to you. What did nonprofits do when the need is the greatest and the money isn't there?
Well, I'll speak generally, and Deb can talk specifically because she's had to confront some of that. But we do what any other business does. We defer maintenance. We hold vacancies open longer. We've unfortunately had to cut back on some of the benefits, health insurance and employee benefits that we offer our staff. There are all kinds of things that we do. We have to, that we would prefer not to do. At the same time when we're trying to do more with less.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Dan?
Well, there's the penny pinching that Ron mentions, but that only goes so far because most of our dollars do go to the direct services to our clients. And for example, in a child care center, you have to have a certain number of teachers in the child care center. So
by law.
And if the enrollment drops because parents can't afford to pay, then we have to let a teacher go. In some cases, we don't have, for some of the private or free slots that we have, we may not have as many slots as we used to have before, because not only is it the donations and the contributions, but a lot of us rely on state contracts.
Now, Deb, for you particularly, and Ron as well, if I were to diagrammatically draw this like pie chart of where the most of your revenue comes from, what does that pie chart look like? Is it federal funds? Is it state funds? Is it local funds? Is it the corporations? Where's the larger percentage of your funding coming from?
I think every nonprofit is different. There are some nonprofits that, for example, that might serve a lot of developmentally disabled clients, either in early intervention programs, in group homes, in supported employment, and they might have a very large percentage of their business come from state and federal dollars. Another organization like a food bank, say a food share, they don't get much state and federal funding. They get a lot of food through that process, but they don't get much funding. So everyone is a little bit different. We receive some state and federal contracts. We do school readiness dollars, which mean we educate about 150 early learning children every year. That's paid for by the state. And we have a lot of child care, mostly low-income families, and that is either from the family themselves or from the Care for Kids subsidy that is offered by the state.
So, Ron, I mean, essentially what Deb has said is that each nonprofit is different, and I understand that. But I mean, when you look at the thing globally with 500 members, are you and they hurt by what's happening at the federal and state level as well?
Of course. There are approximately 800 organizations that have state health and human service contracts.
800?
Yes, even from a community health center to a daycare center, to the domestic violence shelters and other kinds of programs around the state that we see, to senior programs, Meals on Wheels and those kinds. Some of them may have a portion of their budget, like a domestic violence shelter, and as a rule has probably 50% of its funds from the state, and 50% are raised either through the United Way, through other charitable foundations and corporations and other charitable kinds of donations.
So do both of you have, well, I know probably Deb, do you have like a director of development who is responsible, he or she is, for going out and raising revenue, for want of a better expression, Deb?
Today I don't, but if anybody's interested in the job, they can certainly contact me.
There's an opening?
There's an opening. But in general, yes, we have a director of development, and then when I don't have someone there, I work with some outside experts, and then I have someone whose full-time job it is to take care of all the paperwork that goes with grants and state contracts.
And the YWCA does several large fundraising events every year. They have a couple huge kinds of events that do draw in a lot of money, and which helps supplement their
So, Ron,